We've got the third sign, which is Gemini. And Gemini is an air sign. And it is a mutable sign. It always goes cardinal, fixed, mutable, and it
Hmm.
also always goes fire, earth, wind, water. And so Gemini is the mutable air sign, and it has to do with your dexterity, your hands, your lungs, and it also has to do with your basic mental capabilities. Gemini is the sign of thinking, and that's going to be very important in your chart. Um, it's the sign of relating to people, but at risk of making it sound negative, it's the most superficial relationship sign too. That's not necessarily because it's always a flake or it's always bad. It's just that its style of thought and communication has to do with lots and lots of different superficial relationships because it's the sign of ideas and data. See, it wants lots and lots of different inputs because it's always learning. It's on the axis of learning along with Sagittarius. They're the two learning signs. And this one is the social learning sign rather than the existential one. And it is oriented towards teaching and writing as well, you know. So learning and teaching go hand in hand, and then of course writing and communicating. And
Hmm.
that's Gemini. Gemini is kind of also known as like the mischief maker of the zodiac in a lot of ways. Sagittarius can be, but Gemini I think is a bigger one. It's also kind of known as the sign of thieves because of that dexterity input and the fact that it thinks really quickly. It's very, very quick in terms of formulating thoughts, and strategies, and ways to do things. It's always kind of, it's inherently a kind of restless sign. It's always floating around. I always think of people like, say, Aladdin or other characters from like various stories who are always coming up with new ideas and always on the move.
Kind of like a rogue in D&D, huh?
Yeah, there's a couple other signs that go good with rogues too, and we'll get to those. But this one is kind of the quintessential, like charismatic, like fun, kind of crazy, like roguish guy.
Yeah, I see a lot of ESFPs that are Gemini. You said you're on Gemini, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know you mentioned Gemini. It's getting a little confusing. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. No, it gets really confusing. This is going to be, this is a big endeavor. Gemini is related to the planet Mercury, all right, which was known as Hermes, right, and
Hmm.
always on the move, always delivering messages, a messenger. That's an interesting one, right? Because mentally speaking, thoughts and socializing are like a messenger type position.
And their constellation looks like twins, right? They're the twins sign.
Yeah, all these different signs have also had a lot of various things projected onto the constellations over the ages, and seeing how it's changed is very enlightening. It's been the twins, it's been a lot of other things, but basically the twins or the friends, it's also the sign of friendships
Mm.
because, they also often put siblings here too, because it's that kind of a relationship. It's give and take, it's a little bit adversarial, but also kind of playful and fun. It's that kind of a thing.
Okay.
Yep. That's Gemini. All right. And that is the third house because that's the third sign. So wherever you see the third house in your chart, that has to do with your mental style and how you write and teach and communicate with people in a community.